Hello everyone. In this video I will discuss one of the films called Attraction. And never forget that I always pray for you and your family to be happy and healthy always. It begins with a teacher explaining the phenomenon of meteor showers, which has been occurring frequently lately and observed in their city. In the classroom, we are introduced to two beautiful girls named Julia and her friend Svetlana, as well as a bookish young man named Google. In short, upon arriving home, Julia asks her father, Colonel Lebedev, who is a military officer, for permission to witness the largest meteor shower in history that will occur this evening. However, her father refuses permission out of concern for Julia's safety, which frustrates Julia. She then calls her boyfriend, Artem. Meanwhile, outside of Earth, an alien spacecraft is seen being suddenly struck by a meteor, causing it to crash and enter Earth's atmosphere. The alien ship is quickly detected by military radar and is estimated to be moving at speeds of 500 to 900 kilometers per hour and increasing. The military then dispatches 2 fighter jets to approach the alien spacecraft. Meanwhile, Julia, after being picked up by Artem, finally decides to go out and meets her friend Svetlana on the rooftop of a building. Many people are seen witnessing the extremely rare meteor shower. Julia and Artem then go to a room after being given the key to Svetlana's room, while Svetlana, now alone, listens to music and uses binoculars to enjoy the meteor shower phenomenon. Meanwhile, the 2 fighter jets following the alien spacecraft were ordered to fire missiles, resulting in the alien ship sustaining increasingly severe damage. The people gathered to witness the meteor shower panicked and scattered to save themselves upon seeing the arrival of the alien ship, which seemed to be heading towards their location. Meanwhile, Svetlana, engrossed in observing the meteor shower through binoculars, was late to realize the arrival of the falling alien ship heading in her direction. As a result, Svetlana, who was on top of the building, was hit by the alien ship. Julia and Artem were startled by the collapse of the building they were in, which nearly caused them to fall from the height. After the alien ship crashed, the military then moved closer to the spacecraft, and several troops were positioned in various strategic positions to confront potential threats. Colonel Lebedev, along with someone named Polskin, began approaching the alien ship and an alien emerged from it. They then faced each other, and it was evident that the alien had no intention of harming Colonel Lebedev and Polskin. In fact, the alien seemed to understand what Polskin was saying. Unfortunately, Polskin, who had been nervous from the start, suddenly fainted. Only then did the alien communicate with Colonel Lebedev. At the military headquarters, Colonel Lebedev explained to all the senior officials that the alien could speak Russian and requested that no humans approach its ship to avoid unnecessary casualties. However, some officials, concerned about the presence of the alien, argued for a preemptive attack. Lebedev then convinced them that, for the time being, it was better to wait and see what would happen next, because the most important thing for now was to avoid provoking war with the alien, a sentiment that was later approved by the president. The scene shifts to the hospital, where Julia finally wakes up after previously being unconscious. Julia then finds Svetlana's belongings beside her, indicating that her friend has passed away. She then goes out and meets Artem, who is sleeping in front of her room, and tells Artem that she wants to avenge the alien ship for taking her friend's life. Meanwhile, the military has established a safe area with a radius of 1 kilometer from the location of the alien ship's crash. All residents within the radius zone are asked to evacuate, but some refugees refuse and choose to stay in their homes. In short, Julia, who is at her home, then takes a pistol from her father's safe. She then goes to Artem's headquarters, where he is currently gathering with his gang. They then plan to attack the alien ship. From here, Artem and his friends create videos about anti-alien sentiments, which they upload to a social media platform. As night approached, they quietly moved towards a building. Along the way, Artem asked Julia to hide inside a car for safety and to avoid military patrols. Meanwhile, Artem and his friends entered a store where they found a strange object suspected to belong to the alien ship. Without Artem's knowledge, Julia went to Svetlana's room, which was now in disarray. While gazing at a photo of her friend, Julia heard strange noises approaching, which turned out to be one of the aliens. Startled, Julia reflexively shot at it, causing it to slip and fall. Fortunately, Julia was saved by the alien. Faintly visible on the alien's head was the face of a human, leaving Julia astonished by what she saw. Meanwhile, Artem and his friends, hearing the gunshot and Julia's screams, hurried upstairs. Artem, upon seeing the alien, struck it, causing it to fall and plunge to the floor below. They then descended to where the alien fell, and Artem noticed blood, similar to human blood on the alien's exoskeleton. Meanwhile, Julia saw a human figure pretending to be dead, and realized it was the original body of the alien that had saved her. With the military closing in, Artem, Julia, and their friends fled with the alien's exoskeleton, choosing to leave behind the strange object believed to belong to the alien ship, as it was too heavy to carry. That night, Julia couldn't sleep, thinking about the alien that had saved her earlier, which turned out to have a human-like physical form. Eventually, Julia went out with a car, intending to rescue the alien. Upon her return to the same place, she found the alien unconscious. Julia then put it in the car and went to meet her friend named Google for help. Google estimated that the alien had lost a lot of blood and urgently needed a blood transfusion, so they took the alien to the hospital. As they were about to insert a needle, strange spots were noticed on the alien's hand, and as Julia examined them, the alien suddenly grabbed her hand and transferred a bracelet to her wrist. Julia then examined the bracelet, sensing there was something about it. Through blood tests conducted by Google, it was revealed that the alien's blood type was the same as Julia's. Julia then proceeded to transfuse her own blood to the alien. After a while, the alien briefly regained consciousness and looked at Julia before lapsing back into unconsciousness. Next, Julia took the alien to a secure location and bound it. After deeming it safe enough, Julia went to take a shower and was surprised to see water floating around the bracelet given by the alien, leaving her amazed. Meanwhile, the object believed to belong to the alien ship found by Artem earlier was now taken by the military and brought to headquarters for examination. After speaking with one of the scientists, Colonel Lebedev left the room and noticed something strange happening with their drinking water. On the other side, a fisherman was startled to find all the water in the river gone. The military then held a meeting about this and found that all the water in their area seemed to have been drawn by the alien ship. According to their observations, the alien ship needed water to repair itself because it was found that the damage to the ship would decrease by 30% if there was water surrounding it. They then decided to send water supplies to the affected areas experiencing drought. Later, while Julia was talking to Google, the alien suddenly woke up and spoke to Julia, who was currently pointing a pistol at him, telling her not to be afraid. This surprised Julia with the Russian language spoken by the alien. The alien then introduced himself as Hekon and told Julia that she needed to go find an object called silica. Julia then told Hekon to change his clothes. After changing, Hekon looked very pleased when he found water. Julia then chased Hekon away from the place, becoming worried, and went after him. But unfortunately, Julia was too late as Hekon had been apprehended by patrol officers for wearing strange clothes and walking towards a restricted area. Moving to Artem's headquarters, he and his friends had previously managed to bring Hekon's exoskeleton. They then attempted to cut the object, but failed. Artem then cleaned the scratches on the exoskeleton with a cloth dampened with water, and it was observed that the exoskeleton absorbed the water and the scratches gradually disappeared. One of Artem's friends then tried to put his hand into the exoskeleton, and surprisingly, the exoskeleton's arm also moved along with the movement of Artem's friend's hand. But suddenly, something resembling roots appeared attached to his wrist. They panicked, but eventually managed to free themselves from the exoskeleton. Next, Artem intended to contact the military and report the discovery of the exoskeleton to Colonel Lebedev. But unfortunately, Colonel Lebedev could not be reached as he was on his way somewhere. After obtaining Colonel Lebedev's destination, Artem, along with two of his friends, went to the designated location to wait for Colonel Lebedev's arrival. At this place, water distribution to the surrounding residents was observed, closely guarded by several police officers. However, an angry resident grabbed a stone and threw it towards the police, and one of the officers who was hit by the thrown stone then hit Artem's friend, believing that he was the one who did it. A commotion between the residents and the police immediately ensued. Artem then attempted to calm the riot, and while trying to rescue a police officer from the wrath of the crowd, he was mistaken for a provocateur. Artem was soon beaten, arrested, and taken to the police station. Meanwhile, Colonel Lebedev arrived, but Artem decided to abandon his intention to report about the exoskeleton. In short, at the police station, Hikon, undergoing interrogation, meets Artem, who is also brought to the same place. Artem then smiles at Hikon, still unaware of who Hikon really is. Meanwhile, the police conducting the interrogation are puzzled because Hikon has no fingerprints. Julia then arrives with the intention of freeing Hikon. She also finds Artem among the arrested individuals. Julia then chases after Artem, who is being taken to the next room, and promises to contact her father to release Artem. However, Artem says something that visibly annoys Julia. After Julia successfully escorts Hekon out of the interrogation room, she convinces Hekon to go see her father because she believes that the object called silica, which Hekon is searching for, is at the military headquarters. Julia then pretends to be pregnant to meet her father. When her father is distracted, Julia takes her father's access card and gives it to Hikon. Hikon, after seeing the CCTV footage and knowing the location of the silica, disguises himself with contamination-proof clothing and Lebedev's access card, fooling the scientists into thinking he is Lebedev and allowing him to touch the foreign object. Hekon then easily opens the object, retrieves the silica, and hastily leaves the room. The bewildered scientists soon realize that it is not Colonel Lebedev, and they activate the emergency alarm. Upon hearing the alarm, Lebedev arrives and takes Julia, along with Hekon, who has suddenly joined them, in a military vehicle, instructing the driver to take them home. Meanwhile, Artem is finally released and picked up by his friends. They then return to their headquarters and prepare everything needed to initiate the attack on the alien ship. Lastly, Artem contacts Julia and asks her to join them, but Julia refuses. Upon arriving at Julia's house, she introduces her dog to Hikon, who can tell at a glance that Julia's dog is sick. Hikon then shows the silica to the dog, and a miracle happens where the dog instantly heals. While enjoying their meal, they see on TV that Hekon has been marked as a fugitive, as his face was caught on CCTV, and outside the window, Julia's father's military convoy is approaching the house. Julia then takes Hekon to Google's house. At this point, Google is watching anti-alien videos uploaded by Artem and his friends, which seems to influence people to start hating aliens. Julia then takes the pistol, which was previously entrusted to Google, and goes with Hikon to a music concert, considering it safer. At the concert, their arrival is noticed by one of Artem's friends, who then reports it to Artem. Hikon then invites Julia to see his planet, which looks incredibly beautiful. Here, Hikon mentions that his planet is almost like Earth, except death is very rare there. He also recounts that his ship crashed because it was hit by a meteor, and when it entered Earth, humans shot at it, causing even more damage. Lastly, Hikon says that if any human enters the ship, Saul will detonate it. Hikon adds that he won't use his technology to attack humans, even if he's in danger, as it's part of the protocol. He also says he'll leave Earth as soon as the silica is returned to his ship. In the next scene, Julia escorts Hikon to his ship, but they are intercepted by Artem and his friends along the way. Hikon is then beaten by Artem until he is nearly unconscious, and the silica belonging to Hikon is also taken by Artem's friend. Julia continues to plead with Artem to stop and defend Hekon, which angers Artem, leading him to strike Julia. Seeing Julia being hit by Artem, Hekon rises and defeats all of Artem's members until they are incapacitated. One of Artem's friends then pulls out a gun and intends to shoot Hikon, but unfortunately the shot hits his own friend instead. At the same time, police officers on patrol arrive, causing Artem and one of his friends to flee, while Hikon is arrested and taken to the military headquarters. Artem and his friend, who manage to escape, then start spreading the hoax news that one of the aliens has killed their friend, urging everyone who supports anti-aliens to gather. In short, after all the anti-alien communities gather, Artem then delivers a provocative speech, causing the gathered crowd to become more anarchic and start moving together to attack Hikon's ship. Riots break out along the way, between the military guarding Hikon's ship and the people trying to break in. Meanwhile, Artem returns to his headquarters and tries to use Hikon's exoskeleton. Elsewhere, Julia tries to explain to her father that the military is to blame for shooting the alien ship, and also explains that Hikon is not human. Hikon then tells Lebedev that if any human approaches his ship, Saul will detonate it. Julia, who failed to make her father believe her, then takes a pistol and points it at his head, threatening to kill herself if they are not allowed to leave. Lebedev can do nothing but let them go using a military vehicle, and after Julia leaves with Hekon, Lebedev prepares a tactical team to follow them. Meanwhile, the anti-alien crowd is now getting closer to Hikon's ship. They are then intercepted by other aliens, and it is evident here that the aliens only stop the attackers. They do not appear to attack anyone themselves. In short, Lebedev and his tactical team have arrived at the riot location, trying to subdue the people attacking the alien. Meanwhile, Julia and Hekon are suddenly intercepted by Artem, who is now using Hakon's exoskeleton. Artem tries to stop the car driven by Julia, causing it to stop abruptly and knocking Julia unconscious. Hakon then exits the car and fights Artem, a very uneven fight that eventually leaves Hakon beaten badly by Artem. Julia, who finally regains consciousness, then accelerates her car and hits Artem, who almost succeeded in killing Hakon. Julia then exits the car and approaches Hakon. Meanwhile, the military led by Lebedev has successfully subdued the people attacking the alien. Lebedev then lays down his weapon as a sign that he does not want to attack. Back to Artem, who is trapped by the car. He then forces himself out of the car, causing the exoskeleton's arm he's wearing to be severed. Artem then automatically exits the exoskeleton and sees that Hakon is still alive. Artem then grabs a weapon to shoot at Hakon, and seeing this, Hakon tries to turn his body to protect Julia, but unfortunately it's too late. Lebedev, upon seeing this, quickly runs to Julia and Hakon, who appear unconscious. Lebedev then embraces Julia and mourns his daughter, realizing she is lifeless. The alien then approaches Lebedev, and they proceed to take Hakon and Julia, allowing Lebedev to enter their ship. Inside the ship, Hakon and Julia are placed in a resting area. The alien then leaves Lebedev standing, watching as Julia's body is covered by what appears to be a stream of water. It is revealed that the two aliens operating the exoskeletons are actually not beings controlling them. Suddenly, a voice from within the ship claims to be Saul. Saul then explains to Lebedev that they are regenerating Julia's body and assures him that Julia will still live for at least 80 years on Earth. Relieved, Lebedev inquires about Hakon's condition. Saul explains that Hakon will live forever, but he gave his life to Julia. Saul cannot accurately ascertain why Hakon did this, as it happened randomly with very low probability, something humans often refer to as fate. Lebedev then asks about the presence of other aliens, wondering why only Hakon is visible. From Saul's explanation, it is revealed that Hakon went alone because Earth is not supposed to be visited by others due to its aggressive social life, harsh climate, and 4 million deaths from violence over the last 5,000 years. Additionally, in the same period, there were 15,000 military conflicts due to resource disputes, and humanity's expansion has spanned over 600 years. Their race was on an observation mission to other developing planets, and from that mission, Hakon gathered information and wanted to prove whether humans on Earth were ready to meet their race, with the expected outcome of the mission being negative. However, there are still other factors that could change the initial estimate, all depending on Hakon's decisions, which cannot be analyzed yet, including Saul's misunderstanding of Hakon and Julia's relationship. The results of this mission will still be reviewed, and the future depends on Hekon because there are aspects of Hekon that Saul doesn't understand. This is where Lebedev responds that there are things more important than eternity. We are then shown Julia beginning to awaken and approaching Hekon, who is still unconscious, and the film closes with a scene of Hekon's ship starting to fly away from Earth, spraying millions of cubic meters of water, and Hekon still alive. Finally, Julia, with her dog and the bracelet given by Hekon, is seen glowing. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.